Hello, everyone. Let's go into our icebreaker, which the prompt was, do you have any hot dev environment tips to share? And I will share that my favorite extension I use for my editor is one that you write a comment before a line of text and it highlights it for you. So like if you're writing a multi-line string of HTML, for instance, and you write a comment for that, it'll syntax highlight it and color it in like JavaScript, so you don't have to guess that you got it right. It works for all the languages I try. It's nice for when you have to write long strings. I'll share a link to the Slack group when we're done. I also tend to like making things purple in my environment. I just like purple themes. I rely on those to feel comfortable and at home. And I will just pick on someone random. I'll go to Doribel. Any hot tips for us? Oh, you're muted. You're good.
Sorry, Zoom was hidden all the way in the back. Hi, everybody. Happy Saturday. I really like the ES7 extension, and especially the RAFCE shortcut, which creates the component structure. And then I remember, EJ, you mentioned the command click to navigate links. So that I also love using that shortcut, and also Alt Shift to just duplicate code. And I think that's it.
Nice. We should make a thread of these for later for everyone to remember. Who's going next?
Yeah. So I'm going to choose Stacy.
Hi. So what I do like is autosave. That way I don't lose any of my work. And I do like Prettier. That way it organizes my code and it looks neatly. I'm gonna go ahead and pick Nick.
Hello. Well, I was gonna say React code snippets as well. So now I'm trying to think of something new. Yeah, I really do enjoy being able to make components really quickly with those little keywords. I suppose live preview is great. Being able to have, a reactive version of what the browser should look like right in your editor saves you a little bit of time. Let's go with Suveksha.
Hi, everyone. I was going to say the same thing about the Prettier, and now I think what I like is how editor gives the suggestion about how when we were about to type something, it gives lots of suggestions, then we could pick from one of them. So I really like that. I think that would be all. I can't think of anything right now.
Totally fine.
So,
we have Megan and Jenny, right?
Oh yeah. Oh, so I think I'll go with Megan.
Woo. Okay. I've got the autosave is a very, very good one. That one is huge for me because I hate when you're like, oh, why isn't it working? And it's because it didn't save. So I have it set up to autosave when I change focus, like when the window I'm typing in loses focus, which is huge. But the other one that I use, it's not like explicitly a developer tool, but I really like Obsidian as like my note editor of choice. I like have it on all my devices and I've got like all of these templates and stuff set up. But yeah, it's a fun note-taking app that I use all the time. And then I'll popcorn to Jenny.
Hi. So I have two VS Code ones, two shortcuts that I like to use. One is Command, if you're on a Mac, I don't know what it is for Windows, but Command Shift F will bring up the Finder for searching for content in files. And also another one is Command P, which pulls up like a file finder. If instead of like going to the navigation and like all those nested folders to search for a file, you could just type in the file name after you type Command P. So I pretty much go to my files only that way. Another tip another app I like to use is called Rectangle, and it's a window manager. So it's something you download to your computer, and if you have like a browser open, VS Code open, like a million other apps open, you can use it to like snap each window to like half of your screen or like a quarter size of your screen. I don't know if that makes sense. But it's really, really easy, especially if you're kind of on the move and you only have one screen. You can like snap things to half screen really, really quickly instead of like, I don't know, shifting things around. I can send a link, but it's kind of been a game changer. I think that was it, right?
Yeah, I think we have everyone. I have a similar thing called Magnet, same genre of app that I like. Oh, I have one more secret tip for this is not really a developer setup thing, but if you haven't used JSDoc to write comments for yourself in JavaScript before, I can teach that at some point, maybe during office hours this week. We could talk about it because it's life-changing being able to have like the types for objects to know what's in them rather than having to guess, because guessing slows you down so much. I'll demo that at some point, maybe for everyone to see, because I put it in a lot of my code now, and you might even see some of it in the boilerplate that started the app, I think. Okay, so it is demo time, everyone's favorite time. I'm sure we're all so excited, not at all nervous. As I said before, this is low stakes. We're here to just practice the experience of talking to people about what we've done. And as I wrote in Slack, try to talk about what you worked on and what feature your work brings into the app. So speak about it in a way that like showcases the product, like the UI, the behavioral changes of the app, but also talk about the code a little bit. We're trying to cover practicing for different kinds of audiences, if you will. And again, no pressure. We're here to have fun. And let's just say, let's see. I forgot our pairs. We had who do we have? Who was with whom? I was going to nominate somebody.
It's Stacy and I, and then
Okay.
Dorval and Subiksha.
I had that exactly wrong. Well, who wants to go first? If no one wants to go first, I'll pick somebody. How's that? And then, yeah, up to you. I'll give you like a few seconds to decide if we're going to volunteer.
Well, I guess we're issue 2, so we might as well. Is that all right with you, Stacy? Do you want to go first?
Sure. Do
Okay.
you mind? Do you want to share your screen?
Yeah, I can share. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Let's see. I'm going to do the whole screen so I can switch between the app and the code. Okay, are we now looking at the app and also the code here?
We're good.
Right.
Okay, great.
So Nick and I were presented with an issue to enable users to view all the shopping lists and the items within them. Lines number 13. Do you want to like zoom in on your
Yeah,
just a little?
that is
I
somewhere
mean,
in
it's fine.
here.
I
No,
guess it's
okay. I'd
fine.
actually like to learn how to do that if we don't
I
mind.
think Control Plus would probably do it. You're on Windows, right? So
No,
you're on
I'm
Mac OS,
Mac,
so Command
actually.
Plus. Command Plus. We'll do
Oh,
the same. There you
beautiful.
go.
Okay.
So
Okay.
on line number 13, we have the map function, which is being called on the data array for each item in the data. So with each item in the data, there is it's provided a callback function with the list function, which will be executed. Sorry guys, I'm like nervous, I'm already stumbling.
You're good.
You're doing great. You're doing great. Don't worry.
Thank you. This callback receives each individual item from the data list array as list, which is still right here where Nick is highlighting. Then each component displays the list name, its path, and every list has a unique key. That way, the state is updated, or that way, I guess, to my understanding, React is able to know which list belongs to which key. And additionally, it passes a set list path function to handle changes. For example, if in case we do add, Nick, do you want to go on to the live view? Yeah.
Mhm.
So we do have a home. Click on home. I mean, from my end, I don't see most of what Nick does. So, oh, are you signed in? Yeah, he signed in. So if you click on one of the first one, test list, or any of the list items, then it will, generate a action, whichever one you did, whether it's delete or whether it's just like you click on it to go to open up the list, then it, enables an action That way you're taken to see what's inside of said list name.
Mhm.
And Nick is going to continue with the next.
Right. Thank you, Stacy.
You're
Yeah, so
welcome.
I'll leave off right, or I'll pick up right where you left off. So Stacy mentioned clicking on the lists, and I've got my application tab open down here in the inspector, where you can see what's being kept in local storage. And you'll notice if I click through these lists, the TCL shopping list path key is going to change values each time. And that's because if we look here inside the component, this is the single list component, which is what's being rendered to the home page. Sorry, I'm just trying to grab this. Yeah, oh, you can probably see it. I just have the chat window in the way, sorry. Okay, so it is going to place an event listener that is going to call the setter method for set list path. So that we can see is actually in, I believe, app.jsx. And that is where set list path is being called right here, or is being set right here. And it's going to be passed into use shopping list data. So if we look at the definition for use shopping list data, it's basically going to be going to the database, setting up an event listener, just listening for changes to the list path, which we change when we press the button, right? So every time I press the button, we're fetching the new list from the database. And so these are kind of dummy lists. I was just sort of playing around trying to figure out how the database worked, but test list does in fact have some list items in it. So if I were to click on that and then navigate to list, you can see them displayed here. And I will go to the component to also just demonstrate what that looks like on the code side. So if we look inside of list.jsx, very similar. We're getting a variable called data, but it's slightly different. This is the list information data, right? And that is basically, we're going to first check it to make sure that it's not empty. And if it isn't empty, then we're going to map over it. Each item in the list is being referred to as item here. And we're going to just return a list item component for every piece of data in our data variable. And if we look at list item, it's essentially just that, right? It's a list item that also displays the name that comes off of the list data, which has a name property. Right, so if I go back to list one more time, you can see we're pulling off the ID for the key, and we're also pulling off item.name and passing that as a prop. So it's the name. And then it gets displayed right here. And so this is our test list. So if you have the test list already, then you can do this behavior for yourself. And those were the two components that we worked on. Thank you.
Very nice.
We did go,
Yeah, good job.
one second,
Yeah, oh, yeah,
sorry. We
absolutely.
did go one step further, Nick.
Oh yeah,
we just
absolutely.
decided
Sorry,
to do
I forgot
that.
that last detail. Yeah, this was on Stacy's suggestion. I forgot to
Well,
carry out the rest of the
both our
other-
suggestions, both of ours. We just figured we'll go one layer dip.
Yeah, so the way the ternary operator works, if anyone's not familiar with it, is it's basically an if-then statement, but truncated. So this is like saying, here's our condition that we need to be true. If it's true, then we do whatever's right after the question mark, which was basically what I just described, rendering the list item components. However, if data.length does equal 0, meaning our list is empty, then we're just going to display one list item, which just says no items available, which, you know, we could change depending on the nature of the app as it grows. But for the time being, it just says no items available. And I will just add really quickly, the reason we did data.length does not equal 0 rather than just saying data.length is because actually, maybe that's a question for our mentors. I remember there's a reason for doing it, that in a React component, for some reason, you have to specify we're saying it doesn't equal 0 rather than relying on the truthy falsy aspect. But maybe I'm wrong about that. But in any case, Yeah, so that's the extra step that we did.
I remember that. I think we added it in the when we did the pool, or was it the pool? No, when we added the what's it called? When we needed to put the screenshot in there, I think we explained what it is, why we use that line number 13. But we can't remember off our head, sorry.
Yeah, no worries. Usually you can just rely on the fact that a condition always turns to truthy or falsy, right? But I'm not remembering the specific reason, but for some reason in React components, I feel that we have to do it this way, specifically say we don't want it to equal 0, but maybe someone else could speak on that. All right, but anyway, that concludes our presentation. Thank you.
Of course, great job. And for the record, I think it's nice to have the clarity of exactly what you're testing. You're testing for the length of the items in that array. I think that's a good idea. But I think you could do you could just test data.length, because then what JavaScript does under the hood is coerce that 0 to be false. If it's not true, if it's not over one or greater. Great job though.
So it would work as normally expected then. We could just remove.
I'm pretty sure that's true. Yes. I mean, there are always surprises in programming, so it's good to do the clear thing, which is why I like what you did. But I don't think you would have had any problems necessarily. I had a question, which was any of this like difficult or surprising, or was it all pretty straightforward? Anything you wanted to share that was noteworthy as outside of the ternary?
Do you want to start, Stacey, or should I?
No, it was pretty straightforward, to be honest. Plus, like, the second issue, like I said, it was literally took us less than 30 minutes. The first one, like I said, I don't know if we were nervous working it the first time. Took us a little longer, but second part was pretty fast.
Yeah, I would agree with that. And I guess the only thing I would add is, yeah, the rendering of components aspect wasn't really all that difficult. For me, it was more kind of following the flow of data, right? Figuring out how data gets to either of these components, seeing how it's fetched from the database, when is it updating, when is it getting set, that sort of stuff. So kind of seeing all the other parts that rely on the thing that we were building, figuring out, we don't necessarily need to know how it works to just render it to the page, but I'm sure as the app grows, it'll become more important. So that was probably the trickier part for me.
I lost my audio for a second. Okay, I'm back. It's not doing what it was doing last weekend. I'll take that as a small bit of progress. Great job. Thank you both so much. Let's move on to Doribel and Shuveksha.
Hi, Doribel, can you share your screen, please?
Oh.
So we made a small presentation for this.
Oh my gosh.
Hello, everyone. Today we'll be presenting and demoing about our issue number 3. This is Suveksha Ladder, and
I'm Doribel Tercero Parker.
The issue 3 is to add navigation to the application pages by clicking the links in the nav bar. We were assigned to add links to the home, list, and manage list pages to ensure all the links function as expected using navlink component from React Router DOM. So we implemented code that replaces a tag with navlink and also added end prop to it. And the end prop adjusts how the active and pending states work by making navlink active if URL matches the path, and if URL doesn't match, it won't be marked as active. So the next part of the presentation will be by Doribel.
Okay, so moving forward with issue number 3, testing steps and quality assurance criteria. So first, user is to sign in using Google account, then navigate to home page by clicking on the home link. Then we navigate to list page by clicking on list link. And then we navigate to manage list page by clicking on manage list link. And the currently navigated link becomes bold when clicked on, thanks to implementing the end prop. And side note, we did issue a new issue, which will address rendering based on authentication. So that's on GitHub. So I think at some point, maybe we're going to tackle that. And in order to test our code, we temporarily modified the CSS color just to test the end prop further. And so in terms of our code before, as I'm sure everybody noticed, it had A tags and href attributes. And then afterwards, we ended up importing navlink from React Router DOM. And then we implemented navlink. We returned navlinks. We added the two paths and we added the end props. And then in terms of our DOM, let me go over here. Okay. So as you can see, when you click on home, it becomes bold, which means that the end prop is working accordingly. Same with list and manage list. And I believe that is it. So let's get to our last slide with a cute little puppy. Questions and suggestions are welcome. Thank you.
That was great. Now we all have to be doing PowerPoint slides for each demo. Sorry, everyone. The bar has been set. The gauntlet has been thrown down. Seriously, though, I do think it's a great idea to do a little slide deck like this for more complex and for longer demos. You'll see that at like large teams, or if you're demoing for like, let's say you're like with your feature team that did something and you're demoing off to the VPs or something, you'll make a slide deck and you'll like explain to everyone what's going on and you'll reiterate the QA steps. Good idea, good stuff. Was any of this like the same question as with the first group, I guess? Was any of this like surprisingly difficult? Did you learn anything in particular? Anything you want to share?
Yeah, I would go. This was quite simple, just to add links to it. But what issue that we found was interesting that we found it was working even when it was not signed in. So we made an issue for it. Like in GitHub, we already wrote it in like a 3.1 in there. So if you go and take a look, so that was like I didn't expect that to happen, but it did. That was yeah. If Dory will have something you could share.
No, I thought the assignment was worded in a way that helped cut it into smaller pieces. So I found it also, I don't know, I don't want to say easy, but it was fine. It was a good experience. I think I was going to say something. Oh, what I found honestly to be the most challenging part was the pull request, because you really have to think about every little step that you took, and you have to word it in a way that somebody who has not touched the code will understand. So it just really pushes you to understand further the code you're implementing. So I think that's excellent. That's an excellent way of reviewing. So yeah, that's it.
I totally agree. I think you just said out loud one of the aspects of what we think is valuable here about the Collab Lab, practicing explaining your code to people who have not seen it and maybe don't even understand code necessarily. You might in the future write PRs for QA people who don't read code but are excellent at finding bugs. So you want to be able to explain things to somebody who doesn't necessarily understand JavaScript. Megan or Jenny, did either of you have any questions or comments for either of our groups?
How did you guys find the experience of reviewing each other's PRs?
No one wants to go first?
Yeah. Anyone?
Yeah, I'll go ahead. I really like how succinct we're keeping each commit. It makes it very easy. I know, like in some of the projects I've worked on, you know, when you're building out a feature that sort of touches, say you're building a fetch to a database, you're like, oh, okay, I built the fetch on the front end. Oh, and now I need the route endpoint. And oh, wait, let me make the function that actually calls the database. And suddenly you've touched 6 files, right, in one commit, and it can become very difficult to really test or even, you know, be able to determine what exactly got changed. So I love that we're doing short commits that are small and very easy to understand. And also the live preview site that gets spun up is a really cool feature. I think that's great. Makes it very easy to test.
I think Collab Lab does a really good job at chopping up the issues into like reasonable sizes. In real life, it's not always like that. So just be ready for that. It's very easy for a PR to be very large, but it's good practice to keep them small, right? Keep your issues small and yeah, chunk them out better. But yeah, it's great. Anyone else? Did you guys leave like comments or like questions on each other's PRs? Or I know the first week is pretty straightforward as far as the code goes. But...
So that's an excellent question. So to be honest, I went online and I looked up like, what is the best method to submit a review that feels like it's productive and not, it's not like an attack. And so Medium had an excellent article on how you can save reviews. So if you notice, I don't know if you noticed, but like mine, it had like praise. So it has like emojis just to like tone down the message, or if you have a question or suggestions, that so that people feel like, oh, this is like, we're still learning and collaborating, but it doesn't feel like a criticism. So that's what the article was about. So I ended up like saving the reviews, and then so it just starts with like, again, an emoji, a title, and then you add your own review. So I thought it was a great experience to read and to try to follow. So I had an issue with it because I had a commitment later on in the day, so I was reading really fast. So it was a really good reminder for myself that when you review, you really want to be able to not have anything else in your mind and just really read line by line. Don't fast forward, because it actually mentioned in the pull request that I was going to encounter the issue that I encountered, and it offered a solution. So I guess just reminding myself to take my time.
Yeah, feel free to share that article with the team.
Yeah, we'd love to see it. Anything else you want to share before we move on to our retro?
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
So I really like how we are doing the teamwork using the pull request and everything. I could even see the comments like what EJ wrote, what Dory Bell wrote, and I really like that. And like Dory Bell said, she was having issue with not working the links, but when I did, like it was working. And I was like, she asked me how did that work, and just like I didn't know that would happen too, because that was another thing but I didn't expect it. So that's how team worked. Like what others are having issue and I was on, that we could share each other. So I really like that part in here. Yeah, that would be all.
I'm really glad that you all had a good experience, and also the experience of, wait, it's working for me, why isn't it working for you? It's so real, so real. We try not to do that. We try to minimize that as much as possible, but it's going to keep happening for the rest of your lives. Welcome to that. Thank you all for sharing. We're going to move on to our retro, and I'm going to share my screen in just a second. I'm vamping for time because Firefox decided to close.
Oh, can I just ask while you're waiting, should we be deleting our branches after we merge?
I thought that they were set to auto delete. But good question. Generally, it's up to the practice of the team, obviously. But in most teams I've worked on, they've been deleted by the developers, or been deleted by GitHub as a setting. So also though, we'll want to make sure our issues are closed after we do our PRs too. That's one of the benefits of that linking strategy I mentioned to you on Slack, was that once the PR that's linked to is closed, the issue will also close.
Right. Do you mean on the project board it will move, or is that
it will close itself? When you look at the issues on GitHub, they're marked as either open or closed, and when you use those magical links in a PR, GitHub will just close the issue out so that we know that it's no longer relevant.
Great, that's great. Okay.
Cool. I did everything but actually click share. Let's try one more time. I was looking back at some of our issues while we were talking. Let's go to the project. Let's move Zoom aside. I'm going to say we'll do 5 minutes of writing more comments on the board if we need more time. And then after that, we'll start reading and going through as a team. Does that sound good? Also, does anyone have any questions about what you should put where and how to do this as a team? Anything you want to ask?
So Stacy and I met a little bit earlier, and we were discussing like looking ahead in the week. And so in terms of collaborating, just to make sure I understand. So we assigned a driver, me and a navigator. And then the expectation is that the coding happens synchronously, or do people go off? Because Svestra and I ended up like working together the entire week, but like just to make sure I understand that the coding happens synchronously and one person does it per week, like, and I don't, sorry, I think I already asked.
It's okay. Megan, I think you had a real good answer for this earlier on too when it was on a similar question, but I don't remember. I think you said, and I agree, that one of the benefits of this program is to be with people as much as possible and to code together as much as possible. We understand that you can't always make that happen because we all have busy adult lives. But the core thing we're giving you as practice here is the exposure to the experience of exchanging ideas, working on team, like saying out loud what you're thinking and feeling, sharing hot tips, those kinds of things. So it's good if you can meet in a way that allows you to take turns while you're pairing, so that one of you is doing the coding, one of you is doing the Googling of things, and then you take turns after 20 minutes, 10 minutes, whatever else you choose to do as a team. You can set timers. You can do timers that change intervals, like a Pomodoro timer, which I'll link to on Slack. But try as much as possible to take turns and to be together as much as you can. Does that help?
Yes, it did. Thank you.
Also, really quickly, isn't there like an extension where basically if I'm working, she is also able to share her snippet codes in there as well? I believe I forgot the name of it. Maybe someone could remind me which VS Code extension that is. We
You
both
could
are
be talking
able
about
to.
live share.
Is it live share where, like, for instance, where I give her access to my VS Code where she's able to input something?
Yeah, it's called Live Share.
Yeah,
It's,
it
Live share? Okay.
Yeah, yeah, it's awesome.
Okay, awesome. Thank you.
There's also this tool that somebody from the last cohort that I worked with recommended. It's called mob.sh. I haven't used it, but everybody who did use it really liked it. Where I guess it makes like switching pairs really easy. Here, let me drop it. In case anybody is interested in checking that out. I've heard good things.
Awesome. I'd heard about this too, but I completely forgot about it. So thank you for reminding me. Okay, if we're all good to go, I think we should move on to this retro, so we have time for it and for talking about the issue. Any other questions? Okay, I'll count to 5 in my head. Favorite number, let's go. I'm going to leave us a few minutes to write down issues, and then we're going to move on. Feel free to also just say things verbally later on if you don't have time to write down or if you have an idea in the middle. But as a reminder, we want to be able to just sort of like record nice comments and what went well about the week, about our practices as a team. And then we're going to go column by column and talk about all these nice things we're saying about each other. And I should plan music for next time, a little DJ session, but I'll set a timer and then we'll get some typing done and then I'll check back in with everyone. Also, as a reminder, if you can, please prefix your comments with your initials so that we know who wrote what, because the tickets end up being anonymized here. So that's why you'll see everyone's little initials here.
How do I edit it after I wrote it?
Excellent question. I think if you mouse over it, you'll get a 3-dot menu that you can use to edit.
Or just
No.
click
You
on the
click on
card
it,
and then you'll
yeah.
see it.
Right.
Click on the card, then edit title.
Put it on the
Yes.
card. Oh, okay, cool. Thanks.
It's weird that edit is not one of the top level actions in that menu that's available in the small
Right?
card.
Whatever.
Okay, my timer was just screaming at me and I could not get to the window to turn it off. How are we all feeling? Does anyone need more time? If I hear silence, I'm going to take that as assent to continue. Okay, cool. So how we'll do this is there are a lot of cards, and I would love to take time to read every single one, but in most retros I've done in practice, what happens is we'll get all these cards and then we'll vote on them or collect them under a theme, and then we'll talk about that theme together as a team. And we don't have tools to do that either here, unfortunately. But in some platforms I've used, you can like add a sticker or press a vote on each card, and then the tool will collect them into a theme together, which is pretty cool. So we're going to go by vibe, and we're going to broadly read these and talk about the theme. So we'll do that unless anyone really wants to speak up for something individually that they said. Feel free to. But otherwise, I'm going to start with the theme of appreciation and friendship that we've got going on in this far left column. First of all, I want to shout out everyone for, as Jenny wrote on the bottom, and Megan, like, great job collaborating so well this week. This is both across the well-known and appreciations column, I guess. Everyone did a great job for the first week. It's nice to see you all figure things out and try things and socialize and collaborate and push out this great code. And I'm excited to see what comes next. And some mentor to mentor appreciation going on here, because I really appreciate Jenny setting up the Firestore stuff, because I would not have known what to do at all. So you saved my life. Thank you so much.
Yeah, all good.
And thank you, Jenny, for saying nice things about me and Megan. I don't want to speak for Megan, but we appreciate it. Thank you. And I like to see that everyone's also been having fun working with each other. I'd love to hear more about your experiences. Feel free to write blog posts to share how wonderful each other are, so you can all get jobs after this. Let's see, anything else that's really I'm seeing some props to Dory Bell for working on issue 3. Nice, nice. You should all print these out and frame them around your laptop so you can feel good about yourself when you're not sure. Okay, let's move on to what went well. Let's see. More of the same theme, I think. Nick, you mentioned earlier that it's nice to see the clarity of the work that's being shipped. I think that a good note about taking time from Stacy, really good. Vote for teamwork. This is reminding me in a tool that I used to use at a different job. When we would vote on cards and they'd get collected into a theme, the tool would decide to title the theme so that we would know what we're talking about, and it would just pick random words from the cards. So it would be like teamwork, exceptional energy as a theme, and it was just really silly. I agree, Jenny, that there were some great questions being asked. Also, since this happened during the demos, this wasn't written down, but great presentation, great use of Google Slides for Doribel and Shueksha. That was really cool. Congrats on that. Now, I noticed that everyone avoided the what could be improved category. Does anyone feel like something was not optimal that they would like to share that could be changed for next time as a process? Either that means, I mean, sadly, this is the last Collab lab, so we won't really have time to take your feedback and to iterate on it for anyone else, but maybe you could point out something that wasn't great so that we know what we do and don't like, or what we can try as a team, or, you know, just knowing going forward to your future jobs, what would work for you, what would work for you. Anyone wants to share?
I can get us started. I did notice, I think in the mentor channel, that a bunch of the teams had the same issue we had with the confusion with the database, like having a test list added. I guess it wasn't too clear that we needed to add a test list shared to everyone. Now that I look back at the issue, the instructions were there, but somehow a bunch of the mentors also missed it.
We all just
and
did
it
not
created-
read. Yeah.
Yeah, all of us, all the mentors just did not read. Maybe it's on us, but I wonder if, I mean, I think it did cause a little bit of confusion, especially with Nicholas, I think. So
Mhm.
something probably can be done, not you guys, but with us. Maybe we should just learn how to read next time.
Yeah.
That's
And
all.
thank you. Was that you recording that, Megan?
Yep.
Yeah, thank you. This is the kind of thing that you would write down in a retro for a real team. You would say, you know, the issues weren't spec'd well. Nobody read. No one would say that. Don't say that in your retros. Don't talk about how nobody read. But maybe we say, how can we change our process to make sure that these things are caught earlier on and things like that. So we appreciate you all being patient with us as we don't read at the beginning of this project. Anything else?
I think I already mentioned this before, but having an entity, is it ERD, entity relationship diagram, which I had mentioned already before. I know this is, I was told that this is like simple, but I'm still trying to understand like how every component relates to the other. So having something like that available, a visual.
Totally. And I mean, also, I definitely want to give the impression that I think it's simple and that you shouldn't want one. That was not what I meant to say. So I apologize if I gave you that impression of like, oh, don't be silly. It's too easy. No, nothing's easy. I like that you said earlier you were trying to avoid the word easy because nothing's easy. Easy is all relative. I do think it's a good idea. And again, I think that you should be the one to draw one for us at some point. I'm just volunteering so that way you can have it on as a part of your brag sheet, right? Anything else anyone wants to share?
One thing that
Megan, I
I'll
saw you come off
add,
mute. Go ahead.
yeah. I saw like some people were cognizant of this, and I appreciate that, of just like making sure that when you're sharing your screen or when you have text or like screenshots on your slides, make sure that the font size is big enough that you can read it from a distance. Mostly selfishly because I have bad eyes. But one thing that I like to do is, like put the slide up on my computer and then go stand at the other side of the room and see like, how is it feasible to read this at all, or should I bump up the size a little bit?
I agree. And one thing I want to highlight too, Nick, I appreciated that when you were sharing your screen, you said verbally exactly what you had done to set up your browser a certain way. You said, I have the application tab open in my DevTools, and this is what I'm doing. Because it's really easy if you are used to being able to see well and you're used to presenting to assume everyone can see all the details that you're seeing, or that even if they can see them, that they're catching all the things you're doing as you're moving around. So it's a really good practice to verbalize not necessarily every single little thing that you're doing, but to sort of catch the important parts so that everyone, whether they can see well or not, is not left out of your actions as a demo presenter. Great work again this week. Let's all print these out and frame these little nice cards to vote for each other. Any questions or comments or anything else you want to say verbally that wasn't written down? No, we're all
I just
cool.
want to call out again, like I really appreciate everybody's curiosity that they're bringing and like being willing to ask questions, because I know that that can be scary too when it's like a new group of people. You don't want to be like, oh, I don't know what's going on. But I think that that is really powerful to be able to say like, hey, I think as a group we could use some clarity on whatever. So I just think that it's really great that you all are being brave and asking the hard questions.
I agree. Thank you all so much for being brave and for doing this, and it's going to only get easier. It sounds like oh, this will be weird for a while, but no, after like the second week, usually people are like, oh, this is chill. We're hanging out with our friends now. I don't know, Jenny, would you say that was true for your team too? That it like warmed up and it was fine?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I mean, demos get easier as well. Yeah, by the second or third week, I feel like I didn't even need to like prepare too much for the demos. Not that you guys shouldn't, but it was kind of just like the work is already done, right? You just hope that
She said, don't be me. Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, you guys are doing awesome, as Megan has already said.
Yeah,
Keep it up.
totally. Also, something that you said earlier, I think in office hours, Jenny, was that like you don't want to prepare too hard for your issues because then it takes the fun out of guessing and of like working together to solve problems. But maybe you can also prepare demos too. If you want to decide who will say what, you can do that. You can say who's sharing your screen, who's being Vanna White, who's presenting, that kind of stuff. Totally fine. But you're under no obligation to like write an essay for each demo. But it's a good thing to try once so you can get the experience of that and so you know what it's like to give larger, more serious demos to larger audiences. But by no means are you required to write like artifacts unless you really want to.
Yeah, there will be a big demo at the end of this program, like a 10-minute long one where you can kind of think more about it and plan ahead. But for these ones, these are just pretty casual, right? but they will prepare you for the big one later on, not to make you guys nervous or anything.
No,
It'll
no
be
big
fine.
deal. It's chill. You're gonna have so much fun.
Yeah, it's just in front of all the collabs, all the mentors, it'll be great.
No big deal. Megan, would you mind doing the issue assignment? Because I have to grab some water. I'm like parched. I've been struggling
Yeah.
over here.
For sure. No worries. Let me share my screen.
Also, can I ask a question?
Yeah,
Sure.
go for it.
Is it possible to show where exactly you can see the pull request live? Because I had to test it locally, or the issue, sorry. I don't know if I'm
Are you talking
wording-
about the deploy preview, or are you talking
yeah,
about?
the deploy preview.
Yeah. Let's do
It
that.
should be in the pull request itself.
Yeah.
Yeah, so if you come down here, well, actually, it disappears. It disappears after you merge it.
I thought it stayed
Oh,
up.
wait,
If
I
you
think
scroll
I
down, there was a
saw
GitHub
Oh, does it? Did I
comment.
go too far?
It's the
Yeah,
first
yeah.
comment. Yeah.
Just
It's the
kidding.
first thing.
See, reading is fundamental. Okay, so in
The preview
here,
as well. Oh, that's awesome. Okay.
yeah, then you can click this and it'll show you, this is the deploy preview.
Okay, that's great. Thank you.
Yeah. What are we doing? We're doing issues. Let's go to the project brief. It's week 2. Okay, so our pairs are going to be Nick and Shuveksha and Stacy and Doribel. So, hot take, I feel like you guys can decide between yourselves which of these issues each pair wants to work on. Sometimes it's like, oh, one issue is harder than the other, so it's nice to be able to have a little bit of control over what your week is going to look like. But let's open these up to see what we're going to be doing. Okay, issue 4. As a user, I want to set up a new shopping list so I can start tracking purchased items. So it looks like this one involves some UI stuff and some data stuff. Okay, shopping list has a set of items associated with the owner's ID. Users need to be able to create new shopping lists. Okay, so it seems like this one is about giving the users a way to create a new shopping list through the UI instead of poking around in the database manually, which is what we had been doing. So that's this one. And then this one, issue 5. As a user, I want to add a new item to my shopping list so I can start recording purchases. Okay, so then this one is about adding new items to an existing list. So this one also involves a little bit of UI stuff, a little bit of database stuff. So maybe these are about the same. Let's see, what do the notes say? When this feature, Okay, so these are just like some hints on how to do what you guys are supposed to do. Oh yeah, and then this is a good reminder about like, beware of scope creep. You might get partway through this and be like, oh, this isn't done yet. It would be nice if this could also do whatever. But try not to take on more than what is listed in the acceptance criteria here. Questions? What questions do folks have about these before we assign them?
No questions. You all know everything. So good to hear. Okay, cool. If you end up having questions, let us know. I'm trying to pull up my browser again to see who has what. Let me see if I can get that for you. Nope, it's gone. Hold on. Why does this keep happening to me?
I think I actually have a question about number 4.
Yeah, let's do it.
I might be able to answer for myself if I looked at it a little bit longer, but I was just wondering off the top of my head. It says save the token to local storage. Now I've noticed that the tokens that are in there previously seem to be like a UID, like a random generated number, like a unique number. Is the database going to create that UID, that unique ID for us, and then when it's returned, that's when we pass it to local storage?
My guess would be that the database would create that. Jenny, do you know?
Yeah, I think it's in the function, the create list function. It'll automatically create an ID.
Okay, great, thank you.
Awesome. Great question.
Speaking of number
How-
4, while we're looking at it, just so
Yeah.
you know who assigned to, unless we have protests, you've got Nick and Shiveksha as number 4.
Okay. Do folks have any preference on one or the other? Does one speak to anybody more? No?
No.
Okay, great. Then let's, whoops, no, not me. Ah,
I do that every single
force
time.
of habit. Get out of here.
Every single time.
Get out of here. Okay. God. Okay. Nick.
Okay, while she's assigning the names, I have a quick question. Earlier,
Sure.
we met with Doribel, and again, I worked with Nick, and we did separate, within 2 days. So I suggested that to her. So I figured, just to clarify, is that okay if we do it that way as well?
You can
We
divide your
would
time however
encour-
you prefer to divide your time, whether you do it in one session
Okay.
for the week or split it up. Sorry, what were you gonna say, Megan?
Were you saying like split it up into 2 sections, like one person does one thing and one
No,
person
no,
does
no,
something
just
else?
no, just to collaborate. Like instead of having to just sit down and like have everything done in one session, just
Oh, yeah,
break it
yeah.
up.
That's totally fine.
Okay.
To follow along with that question, so let's say Stacy is the navigator. Does it matter who does the pull request? So if one person's more busy than the other, it doesn't matter, right? Whether the driver or the navigator is the one who puts the pull request.
It's
Or-
usually whoever's working on the code locally, right? Like if you're working on it locally, it'd be easier for you to create that pull request. But your partner could then check out that branch that locally and work on it and then push to that same pull request.
Is that the same case if you're doing live share though?
If you're doing live share, I think you don't have access to create the pull request. I'm not sure. I've
Okay.
only done it where you like add code to the files, but
I would say you should all make sure you get some practice writing these PRs. So as long as you do that, as long as you feel like you're getting practice, try to take turns with whoever does it. That way you can get used to the experience of writing that down. Also, though, on the note of having access to stuff to write it down, remember that you can open draft pull requests with nothing in them just to get that deploy started. So that way you'll both have access to it for the use of taking screenshots, taking videos, all that stuff. You could, after your very first commit, push the branch and make a draft PR just to get that going.
yeah, and if you don't add reviewers or anything, I'm pretty sure no one will be notified.
No one will know. No one will know.
Yeah, no one will ever know. You could just delete the PR. It's like never happened.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Great questions.
Any other questions or comments?
Yeah, I just want to make sure I understand what we were just discussing. So say in a given week, we meet twice and there's a new driver each time. The best way to go about making sure that we both can commit would be to commit the work you've already done, create a draft PR, and then push the code on your branch so that they can pull down specifically that branch and work on the branch.
That's correct, yes.
You don't need to create a PR necessarily. You could just
Mhm.
push the branch and then have your partner fetch and then check out that branch.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think creating the draft PR is more for like if somebody else has the little button that shows up here that's like, oh, you recently pushed this branch. Do you want to open a PR? You could start a draft PR and then your pair could go in if they had time to be the one who's like filling out all of the fields to be like, this is what we changed. This was the acceptance criteria.
Right.
So it's like 2 separate workflows. There's like the coding part and then the pull request part.
Right. Okay, great.
One more thing about making PRs. Try, especially now that we're doing more UI than we did last week. For the PR template, you'll see before and after sections, and those are meant to be opportunities to show what the UI was like before and what it is like now. So take some screenshots of how the thing you built impacted the UI. And even better, but not required at all, is a video showing someone, for instance, going through the form that you've just created.
Yeah, so just to show what they're talking about, that's like in this section, this TBD that I never filled out. This is where you would put your screenshots, screenshots or videos.
You also aren't necessarily required to adhere to the template too. At my current job, we have a template where the before and after is like if it's images, you can use a table to put them side by side if you prefer to. But just getting the information down is more important than trying to make it look perfect. So that way, in the future, we have a record of what happened, and you can also show off. You know, when someone's like, "What was your collaboration history like? How do you?" and they want to see how do you explain information to your teammates, things like that. Megan, were you gonna say something? Or oh no, it was Jenny. Sorry, go ahead.
Sorry. Sorry, Doorbell, I just saw your message in the chat. You had a question about how to work off a pair branch. Did you still have a question about that? We have a couple minutes we can do. We can show how
Yeah, I
to
mean,
do
you
that,
mentioned that you
or
did that a little bit, so I was just curious, like how you created a branch off of the branch that you're working just to test
Yeah.
things out, like play with the code.
Mhm.
And then if you deleted it afterwards or how
Yeah.
you used it.
Yeah. So to do that, you would first check out whatever branch you are looking at. So if it's your teammates, you would fetch it and then check it out. And then you can just create your own branch off of that in the same exact way you create a branch normally. But just make sure you check out that first branch first. If you want, we could do a little demo now, or yeah, just have questions.
Yeah, I have no problem doing a demo if you want to see one, Doorbell.
Yeah, we
But
got like a minute.
Does everybody else want to see one? Is that okay? Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
cool. I can do
Showtime.
that right now. Right now, I say not having a terminal open right now.
Vamping.
Someone give me some music to play off of.
Doo-doo-doo,
If
doo-doo-doo.
visual helps at all, the word branch really does evoke to me the branches of a tree and how branches can have branches split off of them. It's like that. Any branch can be the source of another branch for a PR or for just trying something out. There's no requirement that they all come back to main. Okay, I'm gonna share my screen. Everyone root for me, please, because my laptop has been so upset about life.
We believe in you.
Yeah.
Okay,
You
so
got this.
cool. I'm gonna make this a little bigger, and then I'm gonna zoom in. Let's see. Let me do git pull. Make sure I have everything. So one thing about dev environment setup, by the way, is I have my editor set up to show what branch I'm on, which is a lifesaver because I don't read. So having colors to draw my attention to something is really helpful. But now I don't have to guess. And so I'm on main. But let's say that I'm working with another feature. I had to avoid using my own aliases here. Let's say I'm working with Jenny and I'm making a feature and I make a new branch. So I'm on that branch, right? And then I'm like, wait, I don't want to touch the things that Jenny are doing. I want to try something else without messing up her history. I can make another branch. I had to avoid doing my my aliases again. And now I've cut a branch away from here. So we were on main, we went to this something branch, and now we're on my solo branch. Does that help at all, Doribel?
Yes, it does. I knew that part, but then is it best practice afterwards to just delete it, right? You would just delete EJ solo after you're done playing with it, testing.
Yeah.
Or is it best
Yeah.
practice to like if
If
your
it-
partner approves some of the work that you, I'm not sure how you
If-
bet.
Yeah, I mean, if EJ Solo should never see the light of day, then it would best to be deleted. But if you'll be making updates that you would want to merge into that other branch, you can just merge that branch back into the other branch. But if you're just testing yourself, yeah, just delete it. I don't have great Git hygiene. I just never delete any branches. I'm a million, but like in theory, you're supposed to do better than me.
If this was my work laptop, I could show you all the like 25 branches I have on my local Git history that are just the things I've worked on that I've never deleted. So but to go back to what Jenny was saying, you can make branches like infinitely deep. You shouldn't necessarily do that because it can be really hard to track. But let's say that Jenny and I shipped our feature, and then I was like, wait, Jenny, I have a cool idea on top of what we did together that will really bring this home. I can make a PR to that open branch. And then Jenny's like, I like that. Cool, let's merge it. It gets merged into our feature branch, and then all that code together is then poised to go to main. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that's pretty cool. Thank you for sharing
Yeah,
that.
of course. If you find an opportunity to try that out, please do. We would be happy to support you through that very stressful time of having more than one branch, but it's totally chill. Also, as I said before, if something goes wrong and you put the wrong thing on to main or a branch or whatever, you can always go back in time. That's what Git is for. You can always recover from what you've done. Like it's none of it's very serious. We're not, doing like critical rocket software. This is just something we're doing to practice learning to code. It's all chill. Any other thoughts or comments before we adjourn for the evening, afternoon? What day is it? What time is it? I don't know. No one knows.
Isn't it, well, Eastern time over here. So it's 3 o'clock.
It's afternoon everywhere because it's 12 for me. So technically we're all in the afternoon.
Yeah.
All right. Well,
Cool.
thank
Good
you
luck
again,
this week,
everyone.
everyone.
Are we all good? Of
Thank you so much for demoing. It's really helpful.
course. Thank you all. Great work. And as Jenny said, good luck. And we'll see you in Slack if you need us.
You guys will be
Thank
great.
you.
Bye.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.
See you soon.